Morning show continues. Thanks for being along with us. It is the Tuesday show, and we are happy to welcome Jullia Joson into the show. Julia is an intern for Architecture Daily, and I found a piece that you had written called "How Video Game Architecture is Speaking to You." Chat. We're going to share that with you and give you more details into what Julia wrote. So I think what I'd like to do, if you wouldn't mind, is let's first start with just kind of what prompted you to write this story. Why was this of interest to you?
Yeah, so I was really interested just in the concept of oh yeah, basically video game architecture because I myself I'm an architecture student and I also enjoy games like video games and such. So I thought what better way for me to explore both of those avenues by combining them together. And yeah, like I don't know because right now I'm currently in the process of writing my thesis for university, and in there I basically want to talk about virtual worlds and virtual realities and video game architecture and how that is kind of becoming the future almost, especially in this post-pandemic world. And I just really wanted to kind of hone in a bit on that and find a way for me to have both of my interests kind of integrate and hopefully reach an audience, beyond people who are interested, just in architecture alone. Because it's kind of like with the people I know in real life. They're all gamers. They don't really know architecture, but from reading the article, it's like our two worlds were able to collide and merge. So that was pretty interesting.
This is interesting to me because I'm one of the type of gamers who likes the social aspect of gaming, right? So I play a lot of multiplayer games, mostly battle royale type things with friends. But Sean, Sports.Gaming, who we call our hashtag video game expert on the show, always talks to me about there are different kinds of gamers, including those who just like the completionist side of things, and a lot of those worlds where you're finishing a game from front to back, as Spider-Man or as Zelda, right? They have landscapes that like just blow my mind, and the discovery that people have to do within them kind of blows my mind. And so the question I have for you about that is, you look at virtual worlds, right? How is architecture design used to kind of influence the way that people move when they're journeying through, through these places as a player?
As a player. Yeah. So yeah, like in my article, I touched that the four kind of like secret languages almost that architects and designers use are the four things that I mentioned, which is space, construction, materiality, and light. And like you said, in these open world like RPG games, like myself included, I don't know if anyone else in chat or anyone plays it, but I play Genshin Impact, and it's basically like like Breath of the Wild, almost that vibe of just like this open world aspect. And as we traverse through these lands as a player, there's so many things around us that refer to, the lore of what is happening in that environment, what is happening in the world that you're in. And as you go to interact with the buildings, with the architecture, with the structures that are around, the story and the lore itself just continue to become unveiled, and you reveal more of the story of yourself just by purely walking around, almost. And yeah, like almost as well, like what I was saying in the space section, as gamers, I'm sure we all know what it's like to go into, going from small corridors and going through kind of almost puzzle-like labyrinths to then being exposed to something that's really, like a big boss room. And you know that something's going to happen because the space indicates, that. And for us as, as gamers, that is our prompt to know that, oh, like I have to prepare myself for this. And just everything around us, like we don't realize it as gamers as we're there, but every decision that has been made by the designers is there, and has been designed for our use. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but something
It
around that.
absolutely does. And you mentioned those four things. They're kind of the sub headlines of the article, How Video Game Architecture is Speaking to You. Julie Joson is our guest on Gaming Morning Show from Architecture Daily. And the one that kind of stood out to me, and I don't know how much of this is a design term, how much of this is an architecture term, is materiality, right? Because me, as a layman, didn't understand that necessarily. So you mentioned that game designers use material to evoke feelings. So what is materiality, and share with us how that kind of affects feelings when you're playing a game?
So materiality is essentially just I don't know what better way to explain it, but it's just like the materials basically that are used within
Yeah.
architecture. Like in different, and you can kind of understand the context of areas that you're in based on the materiality of the buildings. So I know that here, like I'm from the UK, and in England, we love our brick houses. Like that's how you can tell that something's from Britain. The way that you can just see from the exterior of the building that it's just pure like raw brick. But I know that in places in the US, it's very much different architecture there, and you can tell where you are based on the materiality that is being used. Um, so I guess like in the way that it affects gameplay, I kind of touched on this game Portal, and I myself didn't actually play it myself. I just did some research, but my brother played it, and he said that like, oh Julia, like you're right. As I was going through the game, and as the things that were supposed to be very shiny and clean and professional, as you continue to play the game and everything becomes more kind of rotten and like very like as that kind of vibe where you just know that you're not supposed to be in this place anymore. He just said that in that way it just sort of brings that sense of discomfort. And it's really interesting how simply changing the environment that you're in and the materiality that surrounds you can just completely change the vibe of the game, and the vibe that you experience as a player as well. So I think that that's a good way to kind of describe it almost.
It is, and you've had a lot of support joining us this morning in our chat. One of our regulars is Chris M. Yee and says, "I know a boss arena when I see one." And Elazar says, "Haha, facts. You gotta know, gotta prep for the biggest boss battle." And yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
will say, as few of those like single player games as I've played, I know exactly that feeling when you kind of look around, you're like, "Wait a second, something's about to happen." It is
Hmm.
absolutely true. We've shared the article. We wish you the best of luck, not only obviously through writing for Architecture Daily, but of course completing your degree. If anyone wants to keep tabs on your journey, some of your writing, what are some of the best ways to do so?
Well, yeah, you can just follow me straight on ArchDaily. So it would be arcdaily.com/author/Julia hyphen Joson. I can put that in the chat somewhere, or
We
someone
actually
can.
we
I don't
have
know.
that for you. We got your
Oh,
back,
do
so it's in
you?
there. That's the best way. So click. That is the author page for
Nice.
Julia on Architecture Daily. Julia Joson, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And if you ever do anything else related to video games, always reach out. We'd love to have you back.
Of course, that's what I definitely plan to do and bring to ArchDaily. Bring that little video game aspect to the architecture that they're writing about. So yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really helpful to read. And like I said, I mean, you look at these places, you look at these spaces in architecture, and wow, I mean, magnificent. We showed some of those pictures that Julia shared in the article. We shared some of those as you looked at the piece that's on Architecture Daily. And wow, I mean, magnificent, beautiful, right? And it's that is the part that I think love the most is I have no good way to describe things like art and architecture. It's not a strength of mine. But what I do know is like I can sit there and look back at something and be in awe. And those pictures that were being shared in the article are perfect examples. And so it describes space, it describes, like I said, materiality. And that was really helpful for Julia to explain to me, and I hope it was for you too, to understand some of those aspects and how they help with the journeys and the feelings. So